Hey family, today I want to talk to you guys about word curses, specifically when somebody is calling you a name or they are labeling you as something, and how that can affect your identity. So, a lot of times I've seen, especially with younger people in schools and stuff, kids are always picking on each other, and um, kids will get picked on and called names, and that shapes how they feel and think about themselves. They internalize those names and it gets into their identity, and that becomes a stumbling block in their life. The same concept with parents. Parents are placed in your life as, figures that are to point you to God. So, what happens when a parent is calling their kids names? It becomes like a spiritual, but also mental blockage in their mind. It's like their identity is suppressed, and they take on the identity of whatever that name is that their parent is calling them. And later in life, that it proves very hard to break out of those mindsets. Those words that are spoken, they act as curses. They're spiritual. They get deep into the core, the spirit and the mind of a person. And so I want to focus on that with you guys today, because um what it actually does is it can hinder your life. It can hinder you from being successful. It can hinder you from being able to find a good mate. These things affect the identity, and there's so many people out there that are in identity crisis, and they haven't put the connection together that they are living out of a false identity because someone called them something, someone said something about them, someone that they loved, that they gave their words a lot of weight. They said something bad about them, and they internalized it and they made it who they were, and now they're living out of it. So that's why it's very, very important to it's very important that, if number one, if you're a believer, you test these things that you think about yourself, because a lot of times, even as a believer, we carry the pain of a false identity. Believers are bad for this because a lot of times we assume, oh, I'm saved now. I've taken on Christ's identity, which is true. Um, but they're not renewing their mind in the scripture. They don't know how. They read the scripture that says renew your mind, and that's pretty much how far they go. They don't test out those thoughts. They don't test the spirits. They don't realize that they are limited in their thinking because they identify more with what people said versus what God said in the word. So, Christians, I'm really talking to you right now, but not just Christians. There's a lot of young folks out there. They're in these schools where people are bullying them, saying bad things, and they just soak it all up like a sponge. So, number one, you got to realize, okay, I am acting out of a false identity. And sometimes you got to pray and ask God to show you if you're doing this, because sometimes it's so deeply ingrained, we don't know we're doing it, and we got to have God to show us. So when he shows you, what do you do? What should you do? You got to break that tie. You got to ask the Lord, Lord, I see where I'm acting out of a false identity. I ask that you would break that power over me, because it truly is. It's a power. It's a spiritual negative power that's causing you to do this. Let me tell you a story. There was this woman, and when she was young, her dad told her, "You are good for nothing. You're never going to be nothing. You're never going to do nothing with your life." And like it just repeated and repeated like a tape recording over and over again in her mind. So she had a very hard time stepping out and doing something in life. um she had a hard time getting a job. There was so much pressure, so much negative thoughts about getting a job, so much fear and anxiety around getting a job. Like the mind was just bringing up all the reasons why she couldn't get a job and step out and start living, you know? And then finally, she realized it was spiritual because of the conditioning that she had when she was young. It formed a belief in her that she couldn't do it. And so whenever she tried to do something that challenged that belief, her mind would just start acting up. It's just the spiritual stuff start going off. So her prayers started being directed against that lie, breaking the power of that lie off of her life, asking God to help her in that area. And the Lord did. The Lord strengthened her, gave her a solidified identity in Him. He helped her to get a job. And now she's doing great. Now she's working. She's doing what she got to do. And she doesn't feel that kind of pressure anymore because she realized there was a root, an identity root that the enemy was using against her. So I'm going to stop there. If you made it this far in the video, I just want to say, if you're going through this or someone that you know, be hopeful because God can deliver you from that. He can help you. He can put you on the right path. All you got to do is pray and believe and ask in faith. You got to challenge those thoughts, challenge them with scripture. Get around people that know how to pray, that know God, that can stand with you and rebuke. Because sometimes when you're in a spiritual warfare and the enemy's attacking your mind and your identity, sometimes it's so hard to believe it for yourself. So you got to have people that can believe it for you, that can step in, that know how to battle the enemy. I'm not talking about surface level. I ain't talking about Sunday morning Christian. I'm talking about people that know the word, that know spiritual warfare, that knows what's going on, and they know how to rebuke the enemy for you. It takes time. It may take a few months. It might even take a few years because some things are deep-seated. But I'm telling you, there is victory and God will set you free. So anyway, I know I got a little preachy, but thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this. And until next time, be blessed.